Please subscribe to my channel to help me grow. The text message buzzed on my phone, a simple alert that I had learned to dread. We need to talk. I felt a sudden pit in my stomach, a cold churn that made my coffee taste metallic. I could hear the soft hum of the refrigerator in the background, the clock ticking too loudly, every mundane sound amplified in the silence of our apartment. I didn't need her to say anything more. I already knew something was off. When she walked in, her expression was unreadable, a mask I hadn't seen in years. I tried to meet her eyes, looking for the warmth we used to share, but there was a distance there, a line drawn I couldn't cross. "I'm marrying someone else," she said, flatly, as if she were reading from a script. The words hit me like ice water. I could feel my chest tighten, my lungs fighting for air. The living room seemed smaller, the walls pressing in on me, the smell of her perfume suddenly cloying, suffocating. I stared at her, disbelief freezing my tongue. My mind scrambled through memories of dinners, late-night conversations, shared laughter, and now, it all felt like a cruel lie. "Fine," I said finally, my voice quieter than I expected. "Go live with him." The words sounded strange in my own ears, like they belonged to someone else. I saw her blink, a flicker of surprise, and maybe regret, cross her face. That tiny reaction stung more than her confession itself. She dropped onto the sofa, avoiding my gaze. "I didn't plan for it to happen like this," she whispered. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Didn't mean to hurt me," I repeated, tasting bile in my mouth. "You've been lying. Planning. Living a life alongside mine that isn't mine anymore." The apartment was quiet again, save for the occasional creak of the old floorboards. I could feel my hands trembling, my stomach knotting into tight, painful coils. I wanted to scream, to rage, to throw something across the room, but the exhaustion of disbelief weighed too heavily on me. I thought I could sort it out before telling you," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought maybe you'd understand." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Understand? You're marrying someone else. There's nothing to understand. There's nothing to forgive." The hours that followed were a blur of words and silence, accusations and half-truths, memories being dissected like fragile glass. I tried to piece together what I didn't want to accept, the secret meetings, the whispered calls, the subtle changes in her tone that I had brushed off as stress or fatigue. Each recollection was a dagger, each realization a heavier weight on my chest. I remembered last month, her sudden late-night drives that she said were for work. I remembered the evenings when she seemed distant, distracted, and I had comforted her without question. Now, those moments felt like rehearsals for a betrayal I hadn't even known existed. "I didn't love him more than you," she said finally, tears streaming down her face. I lost myself." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, the sound of it echoing in the hollow space of my chest. "Losing yourself doesn't mean you take someone else with you," I said. "You just leave. Leave me with the fragments you didn't want to deal with." She looked at me then, truly looked, and I could see the flicker of guilt and shame, the raw human emotion that was impossible to fake. But it didn't make the wound any less real. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She shook her head, and I could see the truth in her failure to answer. The betrayal wasn't just the affair, it was the erosion of trust, the months of quiet deception that had built an invisible wall between us. I wanted to rage, to claw at the floor, to scream her name until it bounced back in the empty apartment. Instead, I felt a numb resignation settle over me, bitter and sharp. "You're going," I said finally. "Not because I forgive you, not because I understand, but because I can't stop you. Go live with him. Build the life you want. I'll rebuild myself from the pieces you left behind." She nodded, silently, understanding that this was both an ending and a declaration. The weight of her absence filled the room before she even stepped out the door. The click of the lock behind her was final, echoing through the hollow corridors of my heart. I stood alone, surrounded by the memories of a life that felt more like a photograph than reality. The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume, and I realized I didn't hate her. I hated the lie, the betrayal, the stolen trust. And beneath it all, I hated the helplessness of love, its power to bind even when broken. I sank into the sofa, letting the silence wash over me. The pain was raw, real, and unforgiving, but so was the clarity. She had made her choice. I would make mine. And somewhere, amidst the wreckage, I knew I would survive.